Now, the news is not yet over, and Nigerians are trying to, well, adjust to it. This time, it's not an upward movement, but a reduction in the price of PMS. So we've seen Ipman has confirmed, Petron has confirmed, MRS working with Dangote also is another one. Does this mean that prices will reduce this Christmas? Tomorrow is just Christmas. Well, let's find out some of the impacts and drivers, perhaps the consequences of this reduction in a PMS price in a lot of states in Nigeria. As at yesterday, however, we spoke to a resident in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, and he did say, well, the reduction hasn't gotten there. We hope it's gotten there today. But let's speak to the managing director of ASCOM. He's a strategic communications consultant, Mr. Ayodele Adio joins us virtually. Mr. Adio, good afternoon, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Great. So for once, Nigerians have good news, and what better time than the festivities when people will be at home and they can actually visit friends and family members?
I mean, it's an incredibly cheering news, and thanks to Dangote, who's led the initiative to cut off prices of petrol across the country and enter into strategic partnerships with marketers like MRS to sort of bring down the prices of PMS across the country. I think that you couldn't have asked for a better gift to Nigerians who usually travel to their homes, to their villages, to go and see their loved ones and their families. You couldn't have asked for a better gift than cheaper transportation prices, largely occasioned by the reduction of petrol prices at the pumps. So I think that it's a welcome development. I'm excited as you are, and just as many other Nigerians are, because many had predicted earlier in the year that the prices of PMS at the pump was likely to push upwards of 1,500 naira per litre. And to see that there's been a significant downturn to 935 if you're buying from MRS, I think it's a welcome development. Of course, a bit like Oliver Twist, we'll obviously want a lot more reduction, but I think that we can count our gains.
Yeah, well, I guess it's just so true that competition is really good. It's always better for the consumers. But I mean, Dangote has attributed this to the Naira swap, the crude for Naira swap. And, we did see a statement where they were appreciating the President Bola Tinubu for this and all of that. But we also know that the first reduction, they had said it was a Christmas bonanza. So should we be holding our breath? Perhaps, is this a short term? Do we see factors that could lead to, a return to former prices?
Well, I mean, you see, what we should actually call for then is policy consistency. That will be the ultimate driver, the ultimate determinant of whether prices will continue to go lower or if prices will be pushed upwards. And I say policy consistency because indeed it is true that, the president's initiative to allow Dangote access feedstock, with the Naira deal has certainly had a tremendous positive impact in terms of pricing because it's reduced the pressure on foreign exchange. And that perhaps would have had a marginal impact in terms, of the pricing. So what then needs to happen going forward is that this policy is sustained, and not just as a stopgap measure, but something that is sustained over a sensible period of time so that then the impact, can then be permanent to the extent that, it would ensure lower pressure on the foreign exchange, which obviously would lead to lower prices. But even more importantly, is that, we have seen that the Naira has, struggled to gain a bit against the dollar. If that momentum is sustained over the next couple of months, if you looked at the budgets, the president is eyeing an exchange rate of about 1,500 naira to a dollar. If that trajectory is maintained, and if for some reason we can even push the strength of the Naira to go to a bit between 1,300 naira to 1,400, obviously you're likely to see a reduction in the pump prices, of petrol. So as long as there's policy consistency that strengthens the macroeconomic fundamentals within the economy, you're likely to see, lower oil prices. But if you continue to have these policy somersaults, all these topsy-turvy initiatives that you do something on Monday and you change on Friday, you're not likely to maintain this momentum, and you're just going to keep having price fluctuations. And so, while it is commendable, I have consistently commended the president for pursuing that Naira initiative. I think it has to be sustained because it's clear that it's having a positive impact on the market. And obviously, like you rightfully mentioned, competition is healthy. Is good for everyone. And if you asked me, the best thing that has happened in 2024 is what the Dangote refinery has done. It's not just brought competition to the downstream petroleum sector. What it's done, obviously, is to also force the federal government or the NNPC to sit up and stop the opacity and the opaqueness in the way it's run its affairs, for so many years. If you listen to the president's broadcast yesterday when he talked about the fact that for 3 months, he did not need to rely on revenue for the NNPC to meet his obligations. Of course, what the president did not say out loudly is the fact that by virtue of subsection 54 of the PIA, the NNPC that manages the joint venture assets of the president, of the federation, is supposed to pay dividends to the Nigerian government without the president necessarily asking for. So what the president did not say out loud, which has been the case severally this year, was that certain dividends had not been paid to the federation account, right? And so, the best thing that has happened this year is that this Dangote refinery has forced adjustments in the NNPC. You can see that, even though it appears that we're not clear about how many barrel is produced at the Port Harcourt refinery, we're not clear about a lot of things. At least they are forcing them to get their acts together to put that refinery to work. And that's a big win for the consumer, if you asked me.
Yeah, so I'm just curious. Now, Dangote has attributed the reduction in his price to, the swap, the crude for Naira swap. Do we know, or is it just a competition factor that's driving the NNPC, because they also reduced their ex-depot price, which has fed into the 935 by Ipman and Ola? Do we know a major driver of the reduction from the NNPC? So we don't wake up tomorrow and hear, subsidy is back. That's why there was a reduction in prices.
You've asked a very brilliant question. And if you asked me, I can't tell you. And I can't tell you because of how, they have managed their affairs, over the years. We cannot ascertain what is driving their prices, because clearly we do not even know what the NNPC is pricing is what is coming out of the blending plant in Port Harcourt, or if it's from imported petrol. We're not even sure of what the determiner of this pricing is. So it's hard to speak, to what the fundamentals are that has led to the decision that they have made. But what I can speak to, that they are being compelled to make these decisions because of what the Dangote refinery is doing, on their own end. And that's why I said it's been a big win, for the consumers, because, what had happened before now was that the NNPC held complete sway. And to be honest, the fears that many people had that the entrance of a private player in the petroleum sector would hurt the consumer. What we have seen is that in the first instance, Dangote had reduced prices of gas. I think earlier in the year, he crushed the prices of diesel. And we've seen that happen again in petrol. So in many regards, it looks like, competition is making the consumer win. But again, to your question, I really cannot speak to what the fundamentals are. With the NM, it's always one sandwich short of a picnic. You really can't really just.
All right, Mr. Dio. I think the other thing would be, yesterday we spoke to, I think, 2 farmers in our morning and our lunchtime show, And the expectation of the impact of this reduction, it seems very slim. They believe the reduction is just too slim to be felt, or it might take a really long time. Can we expect, or what impact, spillover effect, can we expect from this reduction in the price of PMS?
Well, I think that one of the spillover effects is that most of our, food products, at least intrastate, are transported petrol engines. The heavy-duty trucks move on diesel, which move interstate, but the interest rates, they are largely driven by petrols. And I might add that many other people move yams and rice also with buses that run on petrol engines. So I think that over the next quarter, if this price is sustained, you're likely to see a marginal decrease in the prices of food, across the country, and the prices of
Okay, does seem like we have lost Mr. Adio Ayodele, the Managing Director of ASCOM and also Strategic Communications Consultants. We're just talking about what to expect now that we've seen reduction in the price of PMS, both from Dangote Refinery and from the filling stations feeding from the NNPC, or the Port Harcourt Refinery, managed obviously by the NNPCL. And of course, here talking about the issue of consistency or sustenance of this reduction, he has said, well, if the policy, because Dangote has connected his reduction to the crude for Naira swap, then if that is sustained, then Nigerians can expect him to continue at this price, or hopefully maybe even lower than that. Let's take a break now. When we come back, the NGS is on fire. It's already closed. It's a shortened day today. The market closed, I think, about an hour ago or so. So we're going to have closing numbers today and not intraday numbers. I promise you they're exciting. You would want to see. But I think I've been told that Mr. Dio is back. Mr. Dio, can you hear me? Mr. Dio, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clearly.
Great. So
I can hear you loud and clearly.
Yeah, okay, great. So you were telling us about the expected spillover effect, because some farmers have told us that the reduction is too minute to make any impact in food prices, at least for now.
Oh, yes. So I was just trying to say, very quickly that, yes, the low prices have to be sustained for at least a quarter for it to have a marginal impact in terms of food prices. Because for it to impact food prices, it first needs to impact on the cost of transportation. So once the cost of transportation comes down significantly over the next quarter, it will then have a positive impact on food prices. But like I said, the magic is that it has to be sustained over the next quarter for it to have a marginal impact in the reduction of not just transportation prices, but the concomitant impact on food reduction, the prices on reduction of food prices, across the country. Like I stressed earlier, we need policy consistency that is targeted at ensuring two critical things. One is that the Dangote Refinery continues to get adequate feedstock that it
All right, unfortunately, we lost Mr. Adio there, but he just emphasized on consistency of the policy and supply to the Dangote, and I believe also to the Port Harcourt Refinery and other refineries we've been promised. We look forward to an exciting 2025, don't you? Getting more refineries on board, and then we have to totally stop the importation of refined products and instead export. Dangote has started that. That would mean a whole lot to the Naira and to our purchasing power. Look forward to those days. But that's it with Mr. Adio Ayodele, the Managing Director of ASCOM and also a strategic communications consultant, speaking about the expectations from that. Let's take a break now. I was saying before he rejoined us, it's an exciting day at the stock markets here in Nigeria today. We'll head there after the break. Just stay with us.